says 6, but up now it is. All right, good evening, everyone. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, June 23rd, 2025.
All right.
And any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move us to the open forum. So here, the Greenville Central School District wishes to facilitate public access to meetings of the Board of Education and to provide an opportunity for public comment at these meetings. Accordingly, the open forum provides an opportunity for members of the public to share thoughts about topics on the agenda. An individual's comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Additionally, comments may be emailed to the district clerk, Daphne Pearson, using the email pearsond@greenvillecsd.org. In order for an email to be read during the meeting, it must be received by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting and state that the email is to be read out loud. Emails shall be limited to 600 words. Please note, this is not the time to register complaints that need to be addressed confidentially through the proper channels. Remarks that might be considered defamatory, obscene, profane, stigmatizing, or otherwise impermissible in public forums are prohibited and will be declared out of order. Board members actively listen during the open forum, but may not immediately respond to comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Do we have any emails?
I do not.
Okay, then I'm going to move us on to the accolade. So, Board of Education volunteers. What am I doing? There is an accolade that I wanted to give in recognition.
Yes.
Yes, okay, fine. We would like to formally recognize someone that is going to be leaving us. It's been absolutely wonderful, Jay, working with you for 6 years. I have valued tremendously your input and kind of the way that you've challenged the written word at times, and really to ensure that we are capturing the intent of what we are doing. And I thank you for that. Even though at times I wanted to pull my hair out, I knew that the process was worth it, because in the end the result was, you know, for every time that I said why, you replied why back. And so there were many times I think that I really appreciate that. And so I'm sure that I speak on behalf of everyone on the board when I say that we are very grateful for your service, for your public service, and thank you. And never say never, you might still come back.
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. I was hoping the accolade was not for me, because I don't like being folks like that, but I appreciate your kind words, and it's been a pleasure working with you as well. I also appreciate that you had a positive spin to put on the argumentative nature of some of the semantic discussions we had. But it's been a pleasure working with you, and Eric and Kelly and Dave and Angela and Jim, whoever else was on. I'll stop rambling, but thank you.
I would just like to echo Tracy's comments, but from a more personal standpoint, as a superintendent coming into a district and being a part of joining the Board of Education and you being a big part of that. I want to thank you for continuing to push the envelope and ask the questions you needed to ask to make sure that you were getting, and the board was getting what they needed. I think we developed a good working relationship during the course of the tenure. And again, I want to thank you. I know you'll miss the pay, but I do appreciate the hard work, the countless hours that you put into this, because I don't think people understand it's much more than just coming to a meeting. So thank you for your commitment to the school district and to our faculty, staff, our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, and I should have said that it's really appreciated working with you and Todd and Daphne and other members of the administration. I think the board administration now is a really good working relationship, and it's been a pleasure to work with you all. So thank you.
And if I could just real quick, I was not at the last meeting, and I do want to recognize Erin Dubois. This is her last in-person official meeting. She's more than welcome to come as a community member or watch it on YouTube, whatever you prefer.
On the big screen.
On the big screen, yes, with your popcorn and access to whatever else you have to do there. But no, I again on that note, I have come to understand how important a role you've played in this district, even prior to getting into administration. To watch you receive some kudos and some nice notes and letters from students from years past, and the impact that you've had on them and their families. I appreciate that. I think that's part of what makes Greenville great is the connection that our folks have to our kids and our families. Again, from a personal standpoint, I will miss you tremendously. Not only for your professionalism and your working with you, but I think on a personal level, you and I have had some pretty important conversations, and I appreciate you for that, and I will miss that. So please don't be a stranger. Thanks for everything.
We also would like to recognize Tatum. I think we recognized her last time too. That's what we did, didn't we? We thanked her. Yes, okay. I wasn't having to see her in a moment. No, but just I think that really just brings home the fact that it's not one individual, that really what makes the best product is input from multiple people, and with individuals having different perspectives that we wouldn't necessarily always see. And I definitely recognize that having student representation provides a perspective and a connection with the school that we wouldn't necessarily see. So she's been instrumental, I think, in providing that, and always very positive and just a wonderful way of looking at things. So she will be missed, and we thank her for her service. And if anyone else wants to add anything. All right, then I'm going to take and move us on to the presentation. This evening we have an athletic update. I know everyone should have received brochure, Stronger Together. Denise Wickham, the director of HPE. Hello, good evening.
Wonderful contact. Is my phone? You try again.
Daphne, I can turn it on.
Oh, okay.
I really don't need a microphone. We can hear you, but the recording can't.
Right.
That's the issue, so, okay.
So this spring, I'm going to give you an update, and then I also thought I would take an opportunity to talk about our commitment day and, our athletic awards night, which went fairly well today, or this past June, this past 12th of June. All right, so the spring season was challenging in many ways because the weather was up and down and all over the place for all of our teams. So that was a challenge. We also had challenges as far as injuries went this spring. So the 3 of our 4 teams struggled this past spring. So I wanted to kind of give you a little update from their words, not from my words. Okay, and I'm not going to read everything on here, so that's okay. First off, varsity baseball. Coach Serrano, this was his first year at the varsity level. He last year was our modified coach. and took over the program this year. And I think he's going to do a really good job and a solid job for us. But you know, as you come in new into a position, sometimes it takes a while to get the program to where you want it to be. So his words, I think that for all of us, it was a chance to grow in a game that we love. We had a lot of personalities on the team and a ton of individual talent. Early in the season, we lost 2 key players to injuries. We started the season with a win and ended the season with a win, and that was our wins for the season. This spoke to the energy we brought to those 2 games. So the team was very up and down throughout the season, and you know, he acknowledged that as a coach. Varsity softball, Coach Lacey, he's been with us for a couple of years now, doing a really solid job with the softball team. You'll understand why they struggled when I read his words. Softball team had its ups and downs in a rebuilding year. The girls made great progress to get better each and every day. Unfortunately, injuries got the best of our team. At one point, we had 6 injuries we were dealing with. So 6 out of 14 girls kind of brings you down a little bit. We grew as a team and made appropriate changes to put the team in the best position possible. Molly Gardner, Dakota Stacy, and Braden Shaver all hit home runs for the season. 2 girls hit over 400, Macy Flannery and Olivia Hughes. And Olivia was one of those injuries at the end of the season, so that took her out of, like, I think our last 3 games, which was kind of devastating. Olivia Hughes, she played third base. She was a second team all-patron. Boys varsity.
Sorry, before moving on, just I'm curious if the softball team was down to 8 people, or do they just play shorter position?
We had to bring up some JV for some of our games
Okay.
to fill in. So right now in athletics, JV can float between JV and varsity. And so we were filling in, which made for some rough games. Okay, anyway, varsity tennis, Coach Gray. The tennis season for the varsity boys this spring was a transition year. Of the 8 players, so there was a lot of growth and a lot of learning throughout the season. We finished the season with a 2-12 record. Both Evan Snyder and Sean Kenna were selected as Patroon Conference second team All-Stars, and they actually represented us at sectionals as a doubles team as well, losing their first match in sectionals. Boys varsity track and field by Coach Tracy. I will say Coach Tracy actually was named as the coach of the year by his colleagues in the Patroon Conference, so that was really nice. Our boys track team had a very nice season. Patroon Championships, our boys 4x800 meter team, relay team, Cohen Wilbur, Jacob Ford, Lucas Russell, and Foster Britton, they were Patroon Championship team, so we're really proud of them. And Jonas Britton was the high jump sectional champion. He jumped 6'3". Okay? Yeah, I could walk under the bar. It's amazing when you think about it. And he also made the at-large height for qualifying for the New York State championships. Our boys 4x800 meter relay champions, the Lucas Russell, and that's the order that they ran. Lucas Russell, Colin Wilbur, Jacob Ford, and Foster Britton. They actually set a new school record as well, 8:24.97. So, really proud of them. Girls track and field. Charlotte Dawson and Carrie Flannery earned first team all-conference this season. They also were Patroon champions. Charlotte was a Patroon champion in the 800 meter run, and Carrie was the 400 high hurdles, okay, Patroon champion. Charlotte actually set a new school record as well, 2:23.56 for the 800 meter run. So really solid season for our track team, and again, with very up and down weather, making it very difficult this spring. So on June 12th, we actually had our commitment day for college. We had 3 students that committed to participate in athletics and while they're at the college level. Bryn Fitzmaurice is going to Dominican University, which is in New York. And she's going to be playing tennis for them. And Jack Giaroso is going to Vermont State University of Linden, and he's going to be playing basketball for them. And Ella Groupie is going to Hartwick, and she's going to be playing soccer. All right. Our athletic awards night, just to kind of give you a little bit of, updates on that. We had 131 athletes that participated at the varsity level this year. Of our 17 varsity teams, 15 of them were scholar athlete teams, which is a point of pride for all of them. I'm still working on the one. The other one I probably can get. 64% of our senior athletes had a GPA of 92 or higher, making them career scholars, meaning that all the way through their third semester, their senior year, they maintained a 92 or better average. That's a lot. I'm really proud of our kids. We had 3 conference MVPs this year, 18 first team All-Stars, 14 second team All-Stars, and 4 Patroon Championship teams. Boys cross country, boys soccer, girls soccer, and girls tennis. Okay, our fall, they did a really, really good, solid job. And our athletes broke 7 different school records. Okay, so these, Ella Groupie set, look, she has 116 career goals. So that's the most in, I think, boys or girls soccer. Jack Giaroso had 80 season 3-pointers and then 182 career 3-pointers. So he was our shooter, obviously. Bryn Fitzmaurice broke the girls and the boys career record as far as the number of points scored in her career. She had 1,567 points throughout her career. She beat her sister's record. Her sister wasn't really happy. Jonas Britton beat his own record, 6'3". His record was 6'2". So that was pretty amazing. When you go and you walk under that and you look at that, and there was a boy at sectionals that was jumping over 7 feet. Crazy. All right, Lucas Russell, Cohen Wilbur, Jacob Ford, and Foster Britton, they beat the 4x800 meter relay with an 8:24.97. Charlotte Dawson, the 4x800 meter run, 8:23.56. So all in all, pretty solid season for athletics, and we continue to just be really proud of the coaches and the kids as they're participating. And representing Greenville.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's had a really great week.
All right, I'm going to move this on to a couple of the discussion items. So the first one is the district-wide school safety plan, which will be given by Todd Hilgendorf, the Assistant Superintendent of Business.
Thanks. So just a quick update. This was mentioned at the earlier June meeting that we have the annual review of the district-wide safety plan, and then it's adopted by the board. So at this time, there is a draft of the proposed 25-26 on the website for anybody that would like to view that. The July 14th meeting, we will have the public hearing. It's required to have a public hearing for anybody that wants to make comments or speak to the district-wide safety plan, and then we'll also be on the July 14th meeting for approval. And we have to have it in place by the start of the 25-26 school year, so we'll be in good shape for that.
All right, well, thank you, Todd. Now 6.2, leadership roles. So we had in previous years, the community had kind of wanted a little more information on how leadership was decided or who was interested in it. So a couple of years ago, then we said that it might be a good idea to place it on the agenda, and then that way members who are interested in leadership roles could then express an interest. So we started doing that a couple of years ago, and we are continuing with it. Again, the leadership is only for 1 year. Every year we go through and we will appoint a president as well as a vice president, and that will happen at the reorganization meeting in July for that. So with that, what I wanted to do is open it up for people that are interested in expressing a leadership role.
I am interested in microphone, please. I just don't want to talk into it. I am interested in giving it a try at the vice president level if anyone is willing to vote for me. There's some things I'd like to learn that I can't learn unless I'm at that level, and I think it would be some good experience, but I don't want to chase anyone else out of the role that might be interested, so.
Tracy, if you're no longer interested in being president, then I would, or vice president, I'm interested in leading the board.
Okay. I am interested in continuing president for that, so I'm asking for your nomination and support for that. Anyone else? Jay, do you want to be vice president again?
Not it. Do you, on a serious note, I know we have a couple members who are not here. I don't know if they would have thought to pass along interest that they have, but are you aware? Or Jim or Angela?
I think there's still time in July if someone is interested for that. So then what I would say is then in July, if we want to take a few minutes on why people think that they would be good for that role and so forth, we can do that. All right, I'm going to move this on to the NISBA resolutions. So we're going to table that discussion. Angela is not here, and so I believe she has agreed to kind of be our representative for NISBA. Every year we go through, and NISBA has resolutions that each of the board votes on. And so one of the things that we want to do is in a meeting, if there's any discussion that needs to happen prior to that meeting, which usually happens in the fall, for some of the resolutions, then now is the time during the summer to have the discussions here so that the representative can then take and vote accordingly to how our board feels. So I think that there was one year where it went long. I think it was until midnight. They've since modified the process and have been able to really focus on the key initiatives, resolutions that need to move on, and just procedurally, we're able to streamline it so that this past year it was much shorter. So we can ask if there are any for the July meeting that Angela has. The next, moving along, we have the summer school update, and for there, Mike, I'll turn it over.
Yes, so Tracy had asked if we could just get an update on summer school and how that's looking right now, summer tutoring actually. So I've asked Melissa, and these numbers may fluctuate a little bit based on, especially the middle school, high school course passing, where people are at. Right now we are at 51 students at Ellis who have committed to whether it be ELA, math, or a LEGO education coding program that we're going to kind of interject into this opportunity for kids. And then 28 students at the middle school. And again, that could go up or down. Once regents are over, we'll have a better understanding of high school. Last year we had 14 students, so we can anticipate in and around that number as well for that. That's more of an online credit recovery option for our students. The other thing that Tracy asked for is, just kind of get an update of how students have done last year. We had done in October a summer school report out on kids and where they were at using really iReady scores and where they're at from a national standpoint. So I just wanted to kind of go back over that. Middle school level, we had 86% of our students who maintained or increased their national percentage, percentile rank, scale score. Ellis for math, we had 75% of the students who participated in that tutoring maintained or increased their national percentile. On the ELA side of things, at the middle school level, we had 59% of the students who, tutoring students maintained or increased their national percent. And at Ellis, we had 91% of our students maintain or raise their percentile score. So we're finding that moving to the more of the tutoring type opportunity where it's a smaller group of students working with a teacher is certainly helping. So we're excited to continue with that this summer.
So like how many days do students in general meet for tutoring? Is there a rule of thumb or it kind of varies by subject?
I think it pretty much varies by subject. We try to get them in here between 3 and 4 days, I believe, is what we've gone in the past, based on parent schedules, based on other activities, knowing that we've got summer sports camps and things like that that are taking place for some of the older kids. So, but we get a pretty good turnout for those sessions.
Mike, excuse me, do you have a breakdown between maintain versus increase?
No, just either maintained or increased, that's all I've got right now. So you would want to know the difference, who maintained and how many increased, separate those out?
Yes. So the made up numbers, if there are 10 students and 8 of them maintain but 2 increase, or vice versa, I think that tells you something about the gives some additional information about what they're doing coming out of summer.
Sure. Yep. And again, just as a reminder with summer school and these tutoring sessions, we're not introducing any new material. It's more about maintaining and making sure we don't have that summer slide. So that's really the goal of these sessions, to make sure that they're able to do that. I'm sure we can probably get to that, down to what's the difference between the maintaining and increasing.
Thanks. And second, in terms of participation numbers, how does that compare to the past years?
Last year was the first year we had done really the tutoring. We'll have to take a look. I probably find that in our October update. I'll see if I can get that out to you.
Okay, thanks.
I think one of the things that is so important is when we look at the iReady and we see the summer slide, it can take a student at times 2 months to get back up, and some students are losing that. So in where they are at least maintaining, if we compare that to other students, in fact, it's even more positive than just maintaining.
I appreciate it. I mean, I know it's important to stop the summer slide, and I don't mean to suggest that it's not positive or beneficial or great that the kids participate. The summer school, the tutoring program for the kids going through it is effective at doing that. But I think especially if no new material is being covered, I'd hope that students are not only able to avoid that summer slide, but also learn the material they've already learned better. In other words, to improve their knowledge and understanding of it and their mastery of it. So I would hope that, again, if the tutoring is focused on covering material that students have already learned, I would hope that there's a tilt towards students improving their scores rather than just maintaining.
And to that point, Mike, you may not have it for this past year, but if we do this again in October with the breakout, if there's a way to find out what the percentages looked like for the kids who didn't get the support over the summer. So they had their summer off, they didn't come for tutoring or anything like that.
So
What were
all
the
the
percentages for maintaining their grade at, or whatever they were on the iReadies in the fall?
Any other questions or thoughts about summer school? All right, then I'm going to move us on to the code of conduct. And here, I think one of the things, Mike, as we go through, and the governor has required the no cell phone bell to bell, then one of the questions that came up was, what is this going to look like? And the procedures and so forth are being detailed in the code of conduct. So I think that that was some members had that question, and so that's what we wanted to have a little bit of a discussion.
Sure, and Kelly can help with that discussion as she was part of that group. Well, but again, I'd like to remind the board too that is, you know, I want to make sure that there's a difference between three different things here. The policy, which the policy committee is working on, and making sure that we get that out there. The code of conduct, which is dealing with the discipline measures of what is happening when there's issues with students having their phones out. Obviously, as Tracy said, there's a bell-to-bell mandate out there that students aren't to have these. And then the third piece of this, which is going to take place as we move into the early part of the summer, is what does the procedures look like in regards to communicating to our community, communicating to our students, what the expectations are, and then internally, how are we managing that at the three levels. So from a code of conduct standpoint, what we've done is we've identified what the issues are. We heard loud and clear in our public forum that we wanted to make sure that we were consistent across the board on what that means when they came out with a bell-to-bell policy that they're going to be banned, that there are consistencies both in the classroom and from the building leadership in regards to the implementation of the policy and what those expectations are. One of the things that the governor has done is said that you cannot suspend because of a cell phone. But one of the things we talked about is that we can certainly suspend for insubordination, repeated offenses, and those types of things. So we want to make sure that that's addressed in the code of conduct, that it's not so much because you have your cell phone out, but it's all those actions that the student has gone through that provides an area of concern for not fulfilling their responsibilities as a student and following what their expectations are. So we really worked on that aspect of things. Anything else you want to add?
I think one of the things that we talked about was, at least for this coming year's code of conduct, the importance of making the cell phones a separate section, the consequences and the process of first offense, second offense, so that it is very clear, like Mike said, that there's consistency, there's no gray area. Whereas a lot of our other behavioral things in the code of conduct, there's some wiggle room for administration to make decisions on a case-by-case basis. With the phones, it will be very much like this is it, which we thought was kind of important, at least for this coming year, and also putting it out to parents, potentially even as a separate letter and document up front over the summertime, once the policy and the procedures and everything are in place. Just kind of, hey, everybody is aware of this. It's not just buried language in a 30-page document.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we talked a lot about was this has got to stand out, because again, the importance of consistency with this new section, new policy from the board's perspective, and the code of conduct. We want to make sure that there are no mistaking what the expectations are from our kids.
I think the other thing that was discussed in policy today was that we took and separated out and highlighted that no flip phones. So even if it is a device that is not connected to the internet, that still is under the umbrella ban from bell to bell. So I think there were some questions about would that be allowed, and the answer is no. So what we did was we created a separate line to share that. So in July, when we go for the second reading, it will have that breakout. And we didn't want any gray area. It was black and white, very clear.
I don't know if this is the place for it, but just because a question had been asked couple weeks. The policy is written for personal, or student possessed personal devices. So in other words, the computers that they're using for educational purposes are not covered under this, that's not the policy, right?
Correct. So a school-issued computer, laptop, Chromebook, or whatever it is not part of this. That will be allowed for that. So yes, we clarified that. So really, we're talking about the watches, the phones, the different devices. I mean, the glasses or anything else that they're coming up with. Right, the earphones.
So I know I said this before, that this is going to be a growing process. It's not, we're not going to have all the answers the first time through. And what I've heard as far as, I'll say, other school districts, I know we're only concerned with Greenville, but other school districts have had a bell-to-bell already, and some of the feedback that I've heard from those environments reported back out is that the students are more engaging with each other, and they're not looking at their phones and just sitting there during lunch. So I mean, there's some very positive things that can happen. And I know that other school districts have had policies in place that they're wrestling with things like, well, we said you could do it during, you know, break periods and stuff like that. So that everybody's rewriting their policies and rewriting what they're doing. So we're not the only ones going through the struggle. But I think that this is a good thing. We'll see if it works. I mean, for the whole state. And in the long run, hopefully our students will be more engaged socially with each other and better educated. My 2 cents.
Mike, will there be training or coaching for the teachers, others who have to enforce the policy?
Will there be training?
Yes, training, coaching. I mean,
No.
maybe for some it will be a no-brainer and easy, but I don't know if there will be any who would benefit from being a coach on how to approach it.
Yeah, no, we've talked with the union a little bit in regards to this and the expectation that they're all on the same page. I had a conversation with Brenda today, a great conversation in regards to, you know, we need to make sure that, you know, from, not only from the building administration, but from classroom to classroom, that there is, you know, the policy and the code of conduct is very much, this is new, this is our opportunity to send a message, and everybody's got to be on the same page with this. So that will continue to be communicated, you know, especially as we start the school year. I don't know if we'll call it coaching, but we will, you know, let folks know what the expectations are. And, you know, again, we know that there will be students in the beginning who will challenge this like any other new rules, but we will make sure that we're consistent in the classroom and at the administrative level to make sure that we are following what we said we were going to put out. So.
Mike, first of all, it's evident that there's been laboring over probably each word on this, but on the document that was provided to us, this is all in bold or black. The only question I have is, it's really, the intent is to poke holes in it and see if there is any holes, but I'm wondering what
There will be holes.
what the intention of the first sentence is. Is that a possession situation, or is it a, it's not, if you have it on you, if you have a device on you and no one sees it, is that permitted, or is it a possession? Because I read that, and actually, if someone is caught with the thing, they're already insubordinate because they haven't followed the rules.
Correct. And so that's taken away from them from the get-go, yes. So again, we talked a little bit about this in our code of conduct, and I want to thank Jim and Kelly for putting this as part of the district level team committee now, in which we will have the opportunity every year to go back and take a look. Like Eric said, this will continue to grow, and have to be potentially tweaked a little bit in regards to not just the code, but to the management of this as well. No personal internet connected device means no personal internet connected device. If we can't see it, then obviously we don't know whether or not they have it. Will there be kids who will try to skirt around it? Absolutely. But if they're caught with it, it is, we take it, and the policy is going to be that we hold it until the end of the day, and then I forget what it is. If the parents come in, parents got to come and pick it up. So that'll become a nuisance for those kids who are repeat offenders.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is that in order to be effective at this, or wide open, I think that the actual intent of how this is how we expect students to function within this issue might be beneficial to be clear with them. So if the intent is that if you can walk around with in your purse, in your backpack or whatever, but if we see it, we're taking it. Mm-hmm. If it's in your locker, that would be better. If it's left at home, that would be great. And as a side note, multiple people have mentioned that this issue might mature as time goes on, but I thought that we've had discussions where I thought that at some point this might get to a point where the kids are mature enough to do what's right with these devices. But I'm now thinking that I don't think that distraction, which is the big issue, is ever going to go away. And then we've talked about, I think some students are going to deal with an addiction problem or loss of the device. So I think that, and I don't know, but I'm sure you have plans to address the students and student body where what you're expecting. And I think the clearer the better, then they won't be able to say or misunderstand.
And again, we spend a lot of time on this. We have hemmed and hawed about a lot of this. And the truth of the matter is 80 to 90% of the kids are just going to do what they're supposed to do anyways. I don't, in talking to other schools and in the rollout of this, there has not been too many repeat offenders. In the first month there's going to be issues. There's going to be those kids who are going to try to challenge things. But we spend a lot of time and effort in trying to capture, to make sure that we're clear on what the policy is, what the code of conduct says it's going to be, and what the expectations are going to be. But like anything else, kids are going to be kids. Kids are going to try to skirt around things. But we will be sure to lay out expectations clearly, and then follow through with consequences for those who are struggling with it.
When the governor first addressed us, and when she finally came to the point where she was going to make a decision, one of her key tenets was it's not going to fall on the teachers. I think that's impractical because the teachers are immersed with the students. They're the closest to the kids, actually. And they're already dealing with this now. Eric wanted to know if it was going to be any different, but they're already dealing with it. I had a discussion the other night with, how is this going to affect the teachers? They're already dealing with it, and hopefully, if it's strictly enforced, it will get better rapidly. That's my hope, and the burden will be off the teachers. And I want to publicly say that the teachers really need to be as a unit where everybody does the same thing. It'll be a lot better.
Agreed.
As you were talking, Dave, I think one of the things that went through my mind is not just the teachers, but substitute teachers. because there you have a situation where someone could be in for a day or two, and sometimes the students might just try to see how far they can push. They would never do that, ever.
And I'm hoping the parents are in on it and helping. So,
We're gonna have growing pains, we absolutely know it, and so I think that, the more that you sit down with your administrative team and just say, okay, how have they tried to get around it today? It'll just be helpful.
Mike, just to clarify the timeline, so I think you said the second, or maybe Tracy said the second reading will be in July. So, remind me, is that when the board will vote in July, or is the vote in August? I don't remember. Second reading is
Unless it stalls to be in October.
right. So when do you anticipate like starting to push information out to the community about what the policy is, what's allowed, what's not?
Yep.
Maybe nothing's odd, but what's good, what's bad, and what the consequences are.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we get that stuff out mid-August, where we're able to start to address it and then do reminders right up until the start of the school year.
So I realize it's premature to ask, but the information sent out, will that be a copy of the policy and the relevant section of the code of conduct and like an overview, like an at-a-glance type of quick hit summary?
Yeah, I think that we can certainly share the links to the code of conduct, the adopted code of conduct, and the policy that's been adopted, as well as what the expectations are.
And I think, Jay, that was one of the reasons, as Kelly had mentioned, with the code of conduct, was separating it out so that it's not buried in a 35-page document, that this is one of the biggest changes that students will see next year, and here's how it's going to be laid out.
And I don't think for a second kids aren't already aware of this. I mean, it's talked about, it's all over the news. It's not a shocker or surprise to anybody. They can't say they didn't know. But it's up to us to make sure we spell it out and are very clear on what those expectations are.
Right, I'm sure there's general awareness of it, but the details. And I agree with, I think breaking that, the cell phone piece out as a separate thing so it's not lost is a good idea. But I would also recommend some high-level bullet points to accompany it, so that someone who doesn't want to read through, I think it's more accessible, even if someone does want to read through the whole thing, to have like what are the key takeaways broken out in some very simple and quick read kind of way.
We could create these stone tablets, thou shall not. But I think it's a point well taken, and especially on the timing. It might be something that we want to do a little bit before, in the sense of a lot of times when just in the back to school, there's that big chunk of information that comes home and things can get buried. So maybe this is one of the ones that goes out a little earlier.
Yeah, we talked quite a bit about this being a completely separate and not getting lost in all those other documents and all those other blasts. This will be a standalone.
Any other questions or anything? It will also be interesting, I think, Mike, to share what you hear among other schools as they roll it out, because I'm sure there can be learning from other schools that could be invaluable and that could benefit us. All right, so I'm going to move us to action items. So with that, let's see, if I could have, I need a motion to approve the minutes for the business meeting of May 12th, 2025.
Kelly?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to accept the Committee on Special Education recommendations.
Jay and Eric?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to accept the finance report. I'm going to make that singular.
Eric? Second? Dave?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Did someone have a question?
No,
No, okay, I'm sorry.
I was jumping the gun.
Oh.
There we go. All right, I need a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
Kelly, Eric,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the transfer of the capital reserve fund in the amount of $850,000 upon the closing out of the 24-25 school year.
Eric, Dave,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the resolution dated June 23rd, 2025 of the Board of Education of the Greenville Central School District authorizing the transfer of the funds to the tax certiorari, I had to look it up, reserve fund, the CERT fund, in the amount of $17,500.
Kelly, I need a second. Jay,
Any discussion other than the pronunciation, which there are technically two correct pronunciations, but that, you know,
Well done.
yes.
exactly.
What are the two?
Certiorari and I. The ending changes.
Would you like to share your knowledge with us on how to pronounce those terms?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the resolution between the Greenville Central School District and the RIC, One Risk Operations Center, the ROC, for the period of July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
Eric, second. Dave,
Any discussion? And this basically is allowing BOCES and a third party to negotiate with third-party vendors so that individual school districts do not have to do one-on-one negotiation to be compliant with the student privacy.
This may be a weird question, but
Go
is
ahead.
there, since it's BOCES and third-party vendors and everything, is there some sort of assurance of if there was a safety breach, who's covering things, who's protecting, like, are these bonded? You know what I mean? Like, there's rules around, I'm thinking.
Well,
that
there's
law-
state laws, right?
Yeah, but
So-
like all of these companies have to comply with certain things. They're responsible if our information gets out because they're covering us.
Right, so for example, if, let's say, a vendor wants to work with some of the school districts, then they need to be compliant with 2D law. And for example, I can give you a specific example. Duolingo was something that they decided they did not want to be compliant, or at least specific to New York, that it was too much of a hurdle. So schools cannot use Duolingo necessarily just kind of across the board. So rather than having each individual school have to negotiate with one of the companies, then BOCES would do it and probably come up with an approved list, and here are the vendors that you can use. And I see Scott nodding, so I probably have captured this accurately. Thank you. It basically saves the IT and legal departments at individual schools.
The liability is built into the contracts if they negotiate.
Thank you.
Okay. For that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to award the DCMO BOCES ice cream bid to Glacier Point Gillette.
Jay, Eric,
Any discussion? I think Gillette appraisers, but you know. All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the contract between the Greenville Central School District and the Center for Spectrum Services for the school year program July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Kelly, Eric,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the contract between the Greenville Central School District and vendor Hayden for the period of July 10th, 2025 to August 20th, 2025.
Jay, Eric,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the contract between the Greenville Central School District and the Center for Discovery for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Kelly and Eric,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the health and welfare service contract between the Greenville Central School District and the City School District of Albany for the 24-25 school year. Oh, they got it in under every year. Any discussion? Motion, okay, a second.
Kelly?
Any discussion?
It's before the year ends.
It's before the year end, right? Don't get me started. It should have been done in September. All in favor? I need a motion to approve the updated policies, 4210, advertising within school district, and 1130, Board of Education Code of Ethics policy.
Eric? Second. Dave?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the surplus items that no longer hold temperature or humidity.
Eric? I need a second. Dave?
Any discussion?
Is it still functional?
I was going to say, who would want it? All in favor? Okay, let's see, topics for discussion at a future meeting. If anyone has any topics that they would like to see included. Before we say, I would like to mention that we had planned on the EV bus presentation to be tonight. Unfortunately, the consultant that prepared it is in Western New York and they could not be here. So they offered up a date that was when our board workshop happens, and I'm like, no, I don't think that is the appropriate venue or time. So we're going back to it, and if we need to, then at the July meeting, it can be virtual if they can't make it in person. So that's the plan. Did I miss anything, Mike? No? Okay. Any other items that people want to be added for future agenda? Okay, then just a couple of reminders. We have the 5th grade advancement, which, Mike, I just saw something about the location is changing, if you just want to take that one.
Yes, in the past, for years, we've done it down at Ellis, but with impending heat, we have moved it up to the middle school, high school auditorium.
I am sure there will be one or two parents that forget, so we might want to have someone down there with flags or, just, not that that would ever happen. I would have been that parent, by the way. Then we have on the 26th, the 8th grade advancement, and on the 27th, Friday evening, we have the high school graduation. If any board members are interested in attending, please let Daphne know immediately. I think everyone should have received invitations. Let's see, on July 1st and 2nd, we have the school improvement workshop, and this is the 2 full-day workshops whereby pretty much an entire team goes through of all 3 buildings, goes through and analyzes the data. If you've never had a chance to attend one, it is thought-provoking. I think it generates a lot of conversation, and this is the information that is used to then put together some of the objectives of these specific buildings.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know people work and I don't, but if you have the ability to get here even for a couple of hours and watch the process, it's pretty cool to watch, and I think it's helped me to kind of prep my mindset going into the board goals later in the month. But I know Matt always has documents and everything prepared for us as board members when we get here, so maybe give Matt Berkshire a heads up if you are going to try to stop by.
Absolutely. Then let's see, we have the organizational meeting on the 14th, and then our leadership and development goals on the 28th. And then our next business meeting is August 11th. So quite a few meetings and so forth, please add it to your calendars accordingly. Then the closing open forum, same rules apply as before. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Do we have any emails? All right, then if I could have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation.
Kelly and Dave?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.